Here's a truth that sounds unbelievable at first, but makes complete sense once you really understand it. Many retirees don't run out of money. In fact, a surprising number of them finish retirement with more wealth than they had when they first stopped working. Not just a little more, sometimes significantly more. Now, you might assume that means they were exceptional investors or discovered some hidden strategy that others missed, but that's not the real reason. The truth is much simpler, and honestly, a bit sad. They were so afraid to spend their money that they barely used it. They spent decades building their savings, sacrificing, planning, and doing everything right. But when retirement finally arrived, they couldn't bring themselves to enjoy what they had worked so hard to accumulate. If you've ever caught yourself thinking, I should be enjoying this, but I'm just too nervous to spend, then this is for you. Because here's something most financial experts don't say out loud. Retirement isn't just about numbers, it's about mindset. And if you don't address the psychological side, the math alone won't protect you. What is the consumption gap? Let's introduce a concept that explains this perfectly: the consumption gap. Consumption is just another word for spending. The consumption gap is the difference between what you could spend based on your financial situation and what you actually spend in real life. Here's how it shows up. On paper, everything looks solid. You've got Social Security, maybe a pension, investments that are performing reasonably well. Technically, you can afford more. You could take that vacation you've been thinking about. You could dine out a bit more often. You could help your grandchildren or support causes you care about. But emotionally, you feel exposed, like one wrong decision could undo everything. So you hold back. You spend less than you safely could, and that gap between potential and reality becomes your consumption gap. And this almost always shows up right at the beginning of retirement. Why? Because your entire financial identity just flipped. For decades, you were in accumulation mode, earning, saving, building. Then suddenly you switched to withdrawal mode, spending, drawing down, using what you built. The very habits that made you successful, discipline, caution, delayed gratification, don't just disappear, they stick around. And now, they start working against you. Spending feels uncomfortable, almost like you're breaking a rule you followed your entire life. The 4% rule, what it says versus what people do. You've probably heard of the 4% rule. Let's break it down simply. It's a guideline that suggests you can withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio in your first year of retirement. Then each year after that, you adjust that amount for inflation. So if you retire with $500,000, 4% means you could withdraw $20,000 in your first year. If inflation is 3% the next year, you'd increase that amount slightly and continue adjusting over time. Historically, this approach has worked well. Over a typical 30-year retirement, people following this rule had a very low chance of running out of money. But here's the surprising part. Most retirees don't even spend that much. They spend less, sometimes far less. Study after study shows that even retirees with substantial portfolios consistently underspend compared to what's considered safe. Even during tough market periods, like downturns in the early 2000s, many retirees still ended up maintaining or even growing their wealth. So here's the real question. Why would someone who has enough money still feel like they don't? A real-life example. Let me share a story. I once met a retired couple who were financially secure. Their Social Security and pension fully covered their essential expenses: housing, food, healthcare, utilities. They didn't even need to touch their investment portfolio for basic living. And that portfolio? Strong. Hundreds of thousands saved. No debt. Good health. On paper, they were in an excellent position. But there was one thing they couldn't bring themselves to do. They wouldn't take a trip to visit their grandchildren. A trip they had been talking about for years. Every time it came up, they said the same thing. This money is for retirement. What if we need it later? Finally, I said something simple. You are retired. This is later. That's the paradox. People prepare for this stage of life, reach it, and then hesitate to actually live it. It's like owning a beautiful car but never driving it. Why does this happen? There are two major reasons, and both are deeply human. Reason one, your mindset doesn't switch overnight. Think about the habits that built your savings: saying no, delaying rewards, being careful with money. Those habits are powerful and they served you well, but they don't automatically shut off when you retire. The same internal voice that helped you save now tells you spending is risky, even when it's planned, even when it's safe. One retiree put it perfectly: I spent 40 years learning how to save. Now I'm supposed to spend? It feels wrong. That feeling isn't irrational, it's conditioning. But eventually you have to ask yourself, if not now, when? Reason 2: uncertainty creates fear. Then there are the what ifs. What if I live longer than expected? What if inflation rises sharply? What if the market crashes? These risks are real: longevity risk, inflation risk, market risk. But when you combine those with something called loss aversion, the natural fear of losing what you already have, it creates a powerful hesitation. Many retirees would rather feel safe than take even a small risk, even if that means missing out. And here's the reality: some people don't need more money. They need more confidence. What does the data actually show? Now let's look at the numbers. Researchers ran simulations on retirees with $1 million portfolios invested in a balanced mix of stocks and bonds. They modeled what would happen over 30 years, and the results were surprising. Even when retirees withdrew more than 4% annually, many portfolios held up well, even during weaker market conditions. And in many historical scenarios, retirees actually ended up with more money than they started with, sometimes much more. Why? Because long-term market growth often exceeded the withdrawal rate. Now, if your goal is to leave a legacy, that's great. But if you're sacrificing experiences today out of fear of running out of money, you may never run out of. That's a different issue, and it's one you can fix. The real causes of underspending. Let's simplify it into 3 core drivers. 1. Fear. Fear of running out. Fear of mistakes. Fear of being a burden. 2. No clear plan. Without structure, every decision feels risky. 3. Lack of trust in the plan. Even good plans feel uncertain if you don't believe in them. How to fix it? Here's the good news: this is solvable. Step 1. Define what money is. Ask yourself, what do I actually want from retirement? Travel, family time, freedom, peace of mind? And more importantly, what would I regret not doing later? Because underspending has a cost too: missed memories, delayed dreams, unnecessary stress. Step 2. Build a plan you trust. You need structure. Options include guaranteed income, like annuities; flexible spending strategies with limits; bucket strategies separating short-term and long-term money. These tools reduce fear and increase confidence. Step 3. Redefine success. Retirement isn't about hitting a perfect number. It's about balance: adjusting when needed, spending when appropriate, living fully without constant anxiety. Final message: you worked for decades. You saved, you sacrificed, you planned. Now you're here. Don't let fear take this away from you. You don't need to be reckless, but you also don't need to hold back unnecessarily. Create a plan, trust it, and give yourself permission to enjoy what you earned. Because the worst case scenario isn't running out of money, it's reaching the end with plenty left and realizing you never truly lived.